The hunt is on for Chim Sa-choi armed robbery suspects. More questions raised about proposed citywide vote on political reform. And Boko Haram pledges allegiance to Islamic State.
Good evening. The police have launched a manhunt in connection with last night's armed robbery targeting a watch shop in Chim Sa-choi. The store's general manager, who was shot by the suspect, is in critical condition. Liz Yun reports.
Police say the suspect escaped with $5.5 million worth of watches at this store on Peking Road last night. The store's 57-year-old general manager was shot as he tried to stop the suspect from fleeing. The masked man was last seen at Haiphong Road. Officials found a cartridge and a magazine containing several rounds of ammunition at the scene. This morning, the shop opened for business despite the robbery case. Its manager said staff members are staying alert after what happened. The watch company also says it will offer financial assistance to the injured staff member. A manhunt is now underway. Police believe the suspect acted alone. He was wearing a grey suit and might be wearing a wig. He's about 1.6 meters tall and speaks fluent Mandarin.
We know the escape route he left last night, but he disappears, so that's why we're just slowly eliminating the CCTVs along the route where he went to try and identify where he may have gone to.
A visitor from Sydney we talked to today thinks this is a one-off case and that he's still confident with Hong Kong's security.
I find Hong Kong very safe. I've been coming here for 15 years and never had any trouble in Hong Kong.
A person in charge of the shop told us that staff members took pictures of the suspect last night because he seemed suspicious. They thought he was planning on committing some kind of credit card fraud.
Lawmaker James Toh, a member of the LegCo security panel, called for stronger police efforts to fight arms smuggling.
I have that genuine worry that in light of the recent years' political activity, I have reason to believe that some resources may have been diverted into the monitoring of those non-drugs, non-arms smuggling activity. In any event, if that is the case, then I hope and I do believe that the police would carefully rebalance the use of resources.
In Beijing, former Secretary for Security Ambrose Lee, who is now a local National People's Congress deputy, called this an isolated case. He believes it's too early to say if security has worsened here. Liz Yun, TVB News.
A suggestion by pollster Robert Chung to hold a citywide vote on the government's reform proposal on the 2017 chief executive election today came under further scrutiny. Diane To reports.
University of Hong Kong's Public Opinion Program Director Robert Chung believes a government-held public vote would give the reform package a stronger mandate. Chung urged Pan-Democrats to pass the proposal if two-thirds of those polled support it. Labour Party legislator Lee Cheuk-yan said if a referendum is to be held, Pan-Democrats shouldn't be the only ones bound by the result. Lee said if the vote shows an opposing majority, then the government and pro-establishment lawmakers should accept that too. In Beijing, National People's Congress Standing Committee member Rita Fan said there is room for discussion over the issue. But Fan pointed out that if the poll is seen as a referendum, the central government will not allow it. She said Beijing has already stressed a number of times that Hong Kong does not have autonomy, so the term referendum is inappropriate. Also in Beijing today, the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference came to an end with a long list of political resolutions passed. President Xi Jinping, Premier Li Keqiang and NPC Standing Committee Chairman Zhang Dejiang were among the state leaders at the closing ceremony. Regarding Hong Kong and Macau, Beijing reaffirmed its commitment to implementing the one country, two systems principle. And the concepts of Hong Kong people administering Hong Kong and Macau people administering Macau under a high degree of autonomy were reintroduced as a resolution. They were left out last year, sparking concern. Diane To, TVB News.
This year's district council elections will be held Sunday, November 22nd. 431 district councillors will be elected. They will be serving a 4-year term from January 1st, 2016 to December 31st, 2019. The government will be holding a large-scale voter registration campaign. Those who become registered voters before July 2nd would be eligible to vote in the November polls.
More groups have spoken out against the protests against parallel goods trading. Ronnie Samtani tells us more.
Members of the Liberal Party petitioned outside the police headquarters in Wan Chai this morning. The group condemned what they described as the violent acts by protesters in recent demonstrations against parallel trading.
I think the whole problem or demonstration for last week is very devastating to Hong Kong society. It's a challenge to Hong Kong's law and order. So if this thing continues, nobody is going to benefit, especially the feelings between the Hong Kong people and the mainland people. So we do not want this feeling to get worse.
Fang stressed we should not use violence to express our views. The group suggested that police deploy more manpower to high-risk areas and called on the force not to issue letters of no objection for these demonstrations. The Liberal Party also urged the mainland and SAR governments to amend as soon as possible the multiple entry permit scheme, which allows Shenzhen residents to come to Hong Kong as many times as they want, to prevent the conflict from escalating further. Meanwhile, a teaching fellow at the Department of Applied Social Sciences at Polytechnic University has come under fire for taking part in the protests. A group of people submitted a petition to the university today criticizing Cheng Chung-tai's behavior and demanded that he be fired. In Beijing, Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference spokesman Lu Xinhua said the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office can help facilitate discussion on fine-tuning the multiple entry permit policy. Meanwhile, 2 people who took part in an anti-parallel trading protest in Tuen Mun on Sunday appeared in court today. They each face 1 count of common assault. Both were released on bail and the case has been adjourned to May 5th. One of the defendants was barred from entering Tuen Mun Town Centre in the meantime. Ronnie Samtani, TVB News.
Britain says it wants to become a founding member of the China-led Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. And that would make it the first Western nation to embrace the bank, which was launched in Beijing last year to spur investment in Asia. Beijing welcomed the announcement. Britain is set to meet with the 26 other founding members next month to agree on the principles of the bank's governance and its accountability. The bank could challenge the Western-dominated World Bank and the Asian Development Bank. Britain's announcement was not welcomed by Washington. A White House spokesman said the U.S. has concerns about whether the new bank will have sufficiently high standards on governance as well as environmental and social safeguards. Police in South Korea say an anti-U.S. activist accused of stabbing U.S. Ambassador Mark Lippert intended to kill him. Investigators say the suspect, Kim Ki-jong, could face charges of attempted murder. Kim has claimed he only tried to hurt Lippert when he attacked him with a knife during a breakfast forum last Thursday in a protest against joint U.S.-South Korean military drills. But police say the force of the attack shows murder, not injury, was the intent. Also on the Korean peninsula, Pyongyang has test-fired 7 short-range missiles off the country's eastern coast. They are the latest such test launch during the drills by Washington and Seoul.
The Nigeria-based extremist group Boko Haram has pledged allegiance to Islamic State militants who have seized much of Iraq and Syria. As Alan Booknia reports, the development comes as both groups are coming under increasing military pressure.
In an audio recording released yesterday, an Islamic State spokesman said the group has accepted Boko Haram's pledge, claiming the caliphate has now expanded to West Africa. In Iraq, government forces continue to make gains in the northern city of Tikrit. Recapturing the town would be seen as a key step towards rolling back Islamic State, which now controls about 1/3 of Iraq and Syria. It would give Iraqi forces a major supply link between Baghdad and the city of Mosul. Boko Haram, meanwhile, has been weakened by a multinational force that has dislodged it from more than a dozen northeastern Nigerian towns. An alliance between the two extremist groups may present a new risk. Young militants who are finding it increasingly hard to get to Syria and Iraq to join Islamic State may now choose to join Boko Haram in Nigeria. Meanwhile, in Turkey, a man suspected of helping 3 British teenage schoolgirls join Islamic State in Syria has been detained.
Suriye'ye geçmesi konusunda.
Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu wouldn't identify the man, but said he is a foreign intelligence operative working for a country in the U.S.-led coalition fighting Islamic State. He said the man helped the girls get to Turkey from London last month, then board a bus headed for Syria. Cavusoglu didn't identify the country the man worked for, except to say that it wasn't the U.S. or a nation in the European Union. Alan Buknia, TVB News.
Speculation is swirling in Russia about Vladimir Putin's health. The 62-year-old president has been out of sight since hosting the Italian prime minister last week. And the unusual absence has put the rumor mill in high gear. The Kremlin has said Putin has recently held official meetings, but some Russian media say they'd actually taken place earlier. Yesterday, a spokesman said Putin's health is, quote, really perfect, and that he will attend international meetings in the coming days. Putin's absence comes at a turbulent time. Last week, Russia's security agencies arrested a number of suspects over the killing of top opposition figure Boris Nemtsov. Critics are skeptical about the official probe and blame the government for Nemtsov's death.
And still ahead in our newscast, fresh calls to do away with MPF hedging mechanism. Polls show the Israeli opposition pulling ahead in next week's election. And co-host New Zealand put on a show at the Cricket World Cup.
What is it about love that compels men to boldly go across time and space?
Kate! It's you I know.
You must really love this guy to do this.
We're talking about the kind of love between friends here. Sunday, fan call. Less is More presents Men in Black 3 on Pearl's Movie of the Month.
No matter where you are, whether you are searching for something or just want to know more, whatever you need, wish to find, or just to learn, to meet your every need, we are ABS 1010.
An injection will make you look young again.
This equipment will help you lose 10 pounds.
Our celebrity endorsement is a sign of quality.
Wake up! Before you undergo a beauty procedure, learn about what it involves, who will perform it, what equipment will be used, and whether there are any risks and complications, such as infection or scarring. Remember to study any procedure before making a choice. Think twice and get the details before deciding on beauty procedures.
The time now is 7:44. The time check was brought to you by Seiko.
Welcome back. The outgoing head of the Mandatory Provident Fund Schemes Authority has renewed calls to abolish the MPF's hedging mechanism. Anna Wu says it's not fair to low-income workers. Evelina Long has more.
Anna Wu met the press this afternoon before stepping down as the chairwoman of the MPF Schemes Authority next week.